Morning folks, Jason here with Jason Giordano Plastering. What I'm doing today is a pretty cool project for a good friend of mine. He built this amazing pizza oven, and what I'm here to do is stucco it, make it look pretty, and just do the final touches. So what I'm going to do is, you can already see down here, there were some holes in his cinder block. We've already started wiring everything, and the wire, it's pretty easy on this part. You don't really have to fasten it, as long as it's in there pretty tight. The stucco is porous, the cinder block's porous, so the stucco will create that bond and hold. So I need to patch these before I can do a skim coat on here to make everything pretty. Up here, we're going to wire around this, and then we're just going to stucco it, and probably end up with a float finish. When I get to patching and skimming everything, I'll show you guys that too. Alright guys, I've got my hot mud mixed up, and now I'm just going to patch these little holes in so they have time to set while we're doing other things. Alright guys, it's been about 10 or 15 minutes. We've started wiring the top. Now that we spent some time doing that, these little patches down here are ready. They've hardened, the accelerator really took them to where I want them. So I take my float, get a little bit of water on it, knock some of it off, and I'm just going to feather these in so that when I go to skim coat this bottom area, they're not above the plane, it's all true and plumb, and the texture won't really fight me when I want to skim it. Alright, now those guys are ready for my brown coat. Alright guys, we're complete with the wire up here. Now when you're doing things like this, you can't put nails into the brick because you'll shatter them, and that would completely defeat the purpose. So we have a row of concrete nails down here at the bottom, and then when we get up, we cut slits in the one piece of wire, and we bent the wire, and we tie wired it, and then we put more pieces, so it's really stable. Not to mention, gravity is going to hold that thing down like nobody's business. So we're going to mix up some mud, and I'll show you how we spread it out in just a minute. Alright guys, I'm ready to do the cement work now. I got a bunch of buckets mixed up so I don't have to stop and do that halfway through. There's a lot of ways I could do this. I could take these buckets and just dump them on the top and just kind of smooth it in with my hand. What I'm going to do is start from the bottom, get a couple scoops on here, and just work my way up. Now it's kind of a challenge when you're stuccoing something that's round. But I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around. I wanted to start at the bottom so that my stucco would have something to lay on top of. It's not just going to keep tumbling. I won't bore you guys with the 15 or 20 minutes it's going to take me to do this, but you see, just all the way around and then all the way up. Alright guys, now the fun part is getting into really tight areas where there's not a lot of space. So I got a big old pile of mud there waiting for me, and I'm gonna lean way over, and I'm just pulling it up. Pulling it up and over to where I need it. My dad used to call this robbing Peter to pay Paul. And we're almost there. When I get to the completed everything, I'll start floating it. I'll show you that too. Alright guys, we're back from lunch now. We had to give this guy time to set. So now I'm floating it just to get all the irregularities out and everything. Get a wet float, get some of your water off of course. And we're just going upward motions. And this brings the aggregate, the sand out. Makes it a lot more uniform. Gets rid of all the trowel marks, and if there's places where the wire shows, you can often just float those guys right out. Of course, I still have a lot more to do. We didn't even start on this guy. We're going to skim coat this bottom, but when you're doing a project like this, you get into multitasking. A bunch of different things at a time. So I'm going to mix up some more mud, and then I'll probably skim this bottom stuff, skim this, and I will keep showing you guys as we go along. Alright guys, I'm getting ready to skim out this bottom cinder block part, and I don't need a bonding agent or anything like that. It's a porous surface that I'm working with, so the stucco will naturally adhere. What I do need to do though is get a hose and wet it down. You try and spread over a dry surface like that, and you're going to have a whole host of problems. It'll drag, it'll pretty much just be a nightmare for you. Now that it's wet, it doesn't have to be soaked or anything like that. Get my mud. And the skim coat is easy. I'm not going real thick, so you don't really need a ton of mud either. Sometimes you get leaves in the mix, you can pull those guys out. And it doesn't have to be super pretty yet, because when I float this, I can get out all the trowel marks, all the imperfections and inconsistencies. Alright guys, now I'm just floating the bottom, much like floating the top. It's just making everything consistent, bringing the aggregate out, giving me a much prettier final product. When you start to drag real heavy, you just put some more water on the float. Alright, I won't bore you with both sides, but you see what I'm doing. I got a little bit more to do, and then I'll show you the final product. Alright guys, we're all done. You can see what we've done here. It came out really nice. The sphere shape turned out really well. Skimmed to the bottom. And we're done. Good day. Glad to be done. Anyway, my name's Jason. I'm with Jason Giordano Plastering. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.